So, physics. Physics, eh? Physics. 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 Physics, 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 physics. I don't want you to getting all this down. Okay.
So, hello, welcome to Physics 2055 for winter 2021. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to have you in class. This semester will be a little different because we have to deliver it remotely. We've been doing this for a little while now. I guess all of you have some experience, and I have some too, since I've been doing this since March of last year. I think the key is if we just try and stay flexible and organized, hopefully we'll make it through with flying colors. In this introduction, I'm going to quickly try and go through the highlights of the syllabus that's posted on Brightspace. You should have a careful read through it because all of the details of the course are in there, and it kind of takes you through everything you're going to need to know and do for this class. So hello, I'm Kelly Shorlin, your instructor for the class. Welcome again to Physics 2055. It's great to have you. This is a nice class that picks up pretty well from Physics 1051 and it builds on Physics 1051. I've taught 1051 a whole bunch of times. And if you're feeling like you're a little rusty on some of those topics, I'm going to try and build in some extra review from some of the 1051 topics as we build on them in 2055. Hopefully it'll be nice and smooth. I've been teaching remotely pretty much since we closed in March, and in fact I was doing 2055 when we shut and I had to do a transition from in-person to remote. So I've learned an awful lot. And it seems like organization and flexibility are pretty key. I'm naturally a bit organized, so hopefully I'll be able to bring that through to the Brightspace page. And I will try and stay really flexible and respond to what you guys need, but your end of the bargain is you have to tell me. So if you let me know what you need, then I'll do my very best to try and accommodate that. I'm going to keep regular office hours. Initially, we'll start off with twice a week, Monday and Friday, in the regularly scheduled class times. These are completely optional. You do not have to attend. I will record and post them as well as any notes in case you wanted to be there but you couldn't make it due to other commitments. My goal is I'll spend the first little bit of those office hours recapping key points from the lectures, the recent lectures. Then you can ask questions live. It's a little bit of a better flow than trying to do it over email. And then I'll also do some extra problem solving to go with those topics. If attendance falls off, we may cut it back to once a week, but let's just see how it goes. You can always get me by email. I do check my Brightspace email, but not nearly as frequently as I check my MUN email. So kshorlin@mun.ca is your best way to get me quickly. Since physics involves a lot of writing and diagrams, I also like to use Snapchat. It's a pretty fast way to communicate. So if you're a user of Snapchat, you can add me there and we can talk about what we're working on that way. I do have a YouTube channel. This is my public channel where I've got a lot of extra material posted. All of our class material will go on unlisted videos and I'll provide the links for those. I've got a survey posted on Brightspace to help me get to know you better. I know some of you because you've been in a class of mine before, but I don't know everybody. So if you like, you don't have to, it's optional. If you like, have a look at that survey and fill in as many of the answers as you wish. A couple of people have already done it and I've looked through them and it's really cool to get to know people a little bit. Certainly is optional. I'll keep them private. I'm not going to share anything with anybody, and at the end of the semester I'll just destroy everything. I can share a couple of the answers on the survey about myself if you guys want to know something about me. What do you want me to call you? You can call me Dr. Shorlin or Kelly. My old-fashioned Newfie heart likes Miss the very best. Where do I call home? Certainly Newfoundland. I grew up here on the island portion of Newfoundland, moved around a fair bit because of my dad's job, but I've spent a lot of time in St. John's between living here part-time, then going to school, and then moving here for my job. What is it like? I love the people, I love the environment, I love being near the water, my family's here. My heart just feels settled in this place. It feels real good. What do you feel passionate about? For right now, I would have to say it's Doctor Who. With the New Year's Day special, I rewatched all of the 13th Doctor episodes, and it was so fun. I'm totally convinced she is my favorite Doctor. They're all good, but I like Jodie Whittaker's the best. Challenges interfering, well, work for me. I find it hard working from home between the dog and the cat and going to get a snack and doing some chores around the house and the kids roaming in to talk. It's a very distractible environment for me. So I find it tough to focus in this remote learning world. Experience with physics. I did my bachelor's and master's right here at MUN. I loved it here. Then I went away to do a PhD. I did that in Ontario. I found that I really did enjoy teaching and working with students, but I did not love the research. So I moved home here to be a lab instructor. I did that for quite a while, and I've been a visiting professor here for the past about 5 years. I kind of finally feel like I am where I'm supposed to be. A fun fact, always hard to come up with these. I have a BFF. We've been friends for about 35 years. We still get together kind of once a week and we walk our dogs. I don't know if that's fun or not, but it is a fact. Here's an overview of the topics we're going to cover in this course. So these are all the things we're going to try and get through. The textbook for the course is whatever book you've used for Physics 1051. So I've based my chapter numbers on the Knight textbook because I think that's the one that most of you have, Physics for Scientists and Engineers by Randall Knight. Some of you may have the textbook by Young and Friedman. If you have that book, it's absolutely fine. You'll just have to look up the chapter by title instead of by number. If you need help sorting it out, just let me know. I'll help you figure it out. All of the physics is the same. It hasn't changed in hundreds of years. You do not need a Mastering Physics access code. I do have a Mastering Physics widget up on the page, and I have it there just in case you have a code and you want to go in and do some homework problems. I'll also try and post those problems as a PDF under a homework folder so everybody can see the questions, and I've got some handwritten solutions for the brush up material from Physics 1051, but you absolutely do not need a Mastering Physics access code. So if you don't have a textbook, you can buy one secondhand. You don't need to worry about the code. I think the bookstore may also sell a student companion workbook. You certainly don't have to buy that if you don't want to. I'm going to try and give you enough work to keep you busy all term. With our remote delivery, of course, the entire class is going to be delivered online. That means you're going to need regular and reliable access to the internet. You don't necessarily have to be in a home with Wi-Fi, but you do have to be able to get to the internet probably once a day or maybe once every 2 days for at least a little bit of time. A computer is probably your preferred device, but if you need to, you can certainly do this course if you only have a phone or a tablet. So you need some access to the internet and you need some sort of device. I've certainly had students try and do the most part of a course on a phone, and while it's hard to look at that tiny screen, certainly everything is still accessible. So if your computer goes kablooey, you can still get the work done. So all of the lectures in the class are going to be asynchronous. That means that they're not going to be live, so you don't have to log in at a specific time to access your lectures. If you're on Brightspace, if you look at course contents, you'll see 3 headings for lectures. There's lecture slides for before class, lecture videos, and lecture slides for after class. Under the lecture slides for before class, what you'll see when you go there are some bare bones slides for each of the chapters. So those will be slides that have maybe a question written down. They might have some diagrams, maybe a few definitions or something with lots of space. So you should either print those off yourself or make up your own set of template slides to use. So that's a good thing to do before your class starts. Have a look through the textbook to refresh your memory about the topics we're dealing with. So make sure you remember all your symbols and definitions from Physics 1051. Then the lecture itself, those will be videos which will be posted as unlisted on YouTube. Under the heading of lecture videos links, that's going to be the links to the lecture videos. Click on the link, it'll take you into a YouTube video. I'm going to try and break those down into shorter bits. I think sometimes it's really hard to steel yourself to sit down and watch a 50-minute video, especially just about boring classwork. So No, sorry, I take that back. It's not going to be boring at all. It's going to be very exciting, and I think you're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time. But I am still going to break it down into little bits and pieces, break it apart by topic. You know, maybe I'll do some theory for a little while and then break it into two separate examples. So they'll be in more bite-sized pieces. After class, and during the lecture videos, I'm going to be adding notes to those slides. I recommend as you listen, you make your own notes. The act of making those notes will help you retain the information and just stay focused because it's so easy to lose your train of thought. After class, compare your slides to my posted slides. So I'll be posting the ones that I make notes on. Compare what you have to what I have, fill in any empty spots, and get in touch with me if you have any questions because I don't want you to feel confused. After each class, there's going to be a quiz available on Brightspace. You go to assessments, then quizzes, and you'll find it there. Those aren't intended to be onerous or difficult, but they are intended to help you do the lecture on time. So they're only going to be available for a short time after the lecture ends, about 24 hours. This shouldn't take you long, 5 to 10 minutes per lecture. It'll recap the key concepts and make sure you got the key takeaway points from the lecture. So that's how I suggest you approach your lectures. Yeah, I think that's everything. And please contact me if you have questions about any of the lecture material sooner rather than later. It can be really easy to get lost, and if you don't clear it up, when we build on new stuff, it'll be harder to stay on track. So here is an overview of the evaluation scheme for the course. This is described with great detail in the syllabus, so that's where you can get the bulk of the detail. The labs are all going to be remote. That's worth 15%. There's a separate Brightspace page for the labs, so it's called Physics 2055 Labs. That's managed by the lab instructor, Chris Deacon, Dr. Deacon, cdeacon@mon.ca. He's the person to talk to with lab inquiries. So you're going to have 6 labs and you're expected to complete all of them. There will also be a final presentation to do. Dr. Deacon will have all the information about that up on the lab page. There will be a little bit of equipment you have to get for the labs. Dr. Deacon is posting the details about that up on the page as well. You need to complete the science safety courses, but I'm guessing you already have that done from a previous physics course. And then one last thing is that you do have to pass the labs in order to pass the course. So if you're doing super on the course, but you just plain old don't go to any of the labs, so even if you get 85 because you got 100 in everything you did and you didn't go to a single lab, you would actually get a fail in the course. So you do have to pass. It's not hard to pass, you just have to show up and do the work, but you do have to pass in order to pass the course. If you miss a lab because you're ill, I understand that happens. You should get in touch with Dr. Deacon right away. If he hears from you within 48 hours of the missed lab, then he'll be able to provide some sort of accommodation. If you don't get in touch within 48 hours, unfortunately, you will end up getting a 0. So you have to be in that quick contact if you miss due to illness. Okay, term tests. Hopefully this is not going to sound too confusing. I have 3 test dates listed, and I'm going to give you 3 tests, and they're worth 20%, but they're worth 10% each. Okay, hear me out. So what I'm trying to do is give you guys a little bit of flexibility. I'm sure your schedules are going to be busy, and some weeks are going to be busier than others. So my goal here is to let you know that you don't have to do all 3 tests. You can choose to do only 2 of them. I guess I could also say that I'm going to drop the worst test and it's okay for you to just skip it altogether. So there are 3 tests. Each of the 3 tests is worth 10%. So altogether it looks like they're worth 30, but I'm going to be dropping one of them. So you only have to do 2. You might choose to do all 3 just to see if you can get the highest marks. That's super, no problem there. Or let's say March the 3rd is a super busy week for you. You've got other assignments and tests and you just don't want to do it. So you can just not do it with no penalty. Or if you miss a test due to illness, that will be your missed test and you will do the other 2. So that's the deal with the term tests. There are 3 of them, but you only have to do 2 of them. So I'm only going to count the best 2. And it's okay to skip one if you want to altogether. The final exam, it's not worth a whole lot. It's worth 18%. That'll be at the end of the semester. It will be a cumulative test for the whole semester, so bits and pieces from the whole course will be on there. There are 2 types of assignments in the course. Part of the assignments are going to be online. That's through the Lon Kappa system. So the web address is lonkappa.physics.mon.ca. That address is in the syllabus, and there is a link on the Brightspace page. To log in there, the username is just your MUN handle. So for example, mine would be K Shoreland. So whatever your MUN handle is. The password, I think John currently has it set as your student number. So I would recommend that you go in there and change that password right away. At any rate, your password is listed under the grades column on Brightspace or D2L. Those online assignments, there's not tons of questions, so I'm going to try a new approach with those. I'm opening the assignment on day 1 of the semester, so they're opened as of Monday, and I'm not going to have the assignments closed until the end of the semester. So you can do them without that time pressure. I recommend that you try and do them as we're covering the material because it's to help you practice, but I don't want you to feel totally bogged down by deadlines. So work on them when you can, try and do some every day. I'll try my best to tell you which questions go with which lectures so you can, help yourself stay on top of it. So you do get the whole semester to work away at it. It's something like 50 questions for the whole term, so, not even a question a day. Okay, next is the handwritten assignments. I've got those worth 24%. Again, I'd like to give you a little bit of flexibility so that if you have a hard week or two, you can just skip an assignment if you want to. My intent right now is to give 8 of those assignments and drop the lowest 2. So if you look at the schedule on the last page of the syllabus, you'll see that there are 8 due dates for handwritten assignments. I'm only going to count the best 6. So you can either not do 2 or you can do all of them just to see how you're doing on each part. Entirely up to you. So again, I'm trying to give you a little bit of flexibility with how much stuff you have to submit. These assignments are more old school. I'll give you a problem. You have to write out a really nice answer, make it really clear with your equations and your substitutions and your units and your significant digits and all that stuff. I will be marking them fairly rigorously, so you've got to do a nice job, but then it's worth a fair chunk of your course. It's worth almost a quarter of the whole course, so, for 6 assignments, so you should do a good job on them. Post-lecture questions, like I mentioned in the lecture section, there's going to be a short quiz available after every lecture, intended to help you stay on top of the material and make sure you got the key points from every lecture. They're not intended to take you a real long time, 5 to 10 minutes, and they're available through Brightspace. Click assessments, then quizzes. Altogether, the time will add up over the semester, certainly, so that's worth about 10% of your final grade. And then last, you'll see I have here discussion group participation, 3%. This is something intended to get you talking to each other. In this remote environment, I'm finding people are spending a lot of time in a room in front of a computer by themselves. It's really hard to reach out and make connections. So I'm hoping on these discussion groups, you'll be able to reach out and talk to your peers. So to that end, when you post on the discussion group, I'm not going to grade for quality of the discussion post. It's just participation. If you post, you get points. If you don't post, you don't get points. To get credit for the participation, you have to make 3 posts per week. So on a weekly basis, normally Monday mornings about 8:30, I'm going to count how many posts you made in the preceding week. If you made 3 posts or more, you get full points. If you made 2 posts, you'll get 2/3 of a point. And if you made 1 post, you'll get 1/3 of a point. You might notice that this distribution of grades adds up to 103%. The discussion group is optional. It's a bonus point. So if you do them, you'll get 3 extra marks. Fair warning though, if you do everything and get 100 and everything, you're still only going to get 100 in the course. I'm not going to give you 103. So it's a way to make up 3 extra marks if you want to. So it is optional, but it's a good idea just to have a little bit of extra peer contact. This is a screenshot from the MUN calendar that talks about exemptions from parts of the evaluation. So this is discussing what happens if you miss an evaluation, a test or an assignment or whatever. So if you miss because you are ill, then what you have to do is get in touch with me within 48 hours. If I hear from you within that time frame, I can offer you some sort of accommodation. If I don't hear from you, then I have to give you a 0 for that evaluation and I can't reweight it to something else. So if you miss, and I realize that we have to be flexible with circumstances, there could be power outages or there could be storms or who knows what could happen, or you could just be sick and not able to get out of bed and do any work. So if you miss, you have to get in touch with me from your MUN email within 48 hours. When I hear from you is when I can make some sort of accommodation. I'm not sure what the accommodation would be. It sort of depends on the circumstances. So we'll see how we'll accommodate it when it comes up. So I believe that everybody can do well in this class, and I further believe that if you put the work into it, everybody in this class can get an A in it. So I really think you can do well. I have a few tips to pass along that will hopefully help you succeed. The first is to try and stay on top of your lectures. Pick 3 hours a week that you will devote to your lectures, just like if this were an in-person class. They might not be the same 3 hours that we have available in the calendar or the schedule, but pick your own 3 hours and mark them in your calendar and don't deviate from it. Once you get behind, you'll probably find it's really tough to catch up. You know, if you get 10 lectures behind, that takes a significant amount of time. It's easier just to stay on top of it right from the beginning. I would also say make sure you're reaching out for help when it comes up. So jot questions for yourself, send them off to me by Snapchat. If it's the earlier part of the course, that's more like 1051, you can even talk to the help center. But make sure you're asking for help whenever you need it. This is where the discussion groups come in pretty well too, because you can talk to your peers and they can explain things to you as well. Organization is really important. So I do suggest that you use a calendar and you put everything in your calendar. All of your due dates, when you're going to study, when you're going to do your lectures, when you're going to do your assignment, so that you know what's coming up. On my end, every Monday morning, generally, I post out what's coming up this week. So you get a heads up on the things you should be staying on top of. Just because I want to help you succeed, and it would be terrible to miss something just because you forgot it was due. So I'll try and post reminders, but you should be getting these in your own calendar as well so that you can make your own plan to succeed. So I think a calendar is really good to stay organized, whether it's a paper calendar or an online one, whatever works best for you. The last thing I'll mention is I think learning is really successful when you do a little bit every day, then it's always fresh in your mind and you're always sort of letting it rattle around and settle in. So I'm going to challenge you to keep a physics streak. So what that means is if you do some physics every single day between the first day of classes on the 11th of January to the last day of classes on the 9th of April, and I do mean every single day, no matter what else is going on. If you're not feeling well, if you're just having a friend over for a movie night, if it's a Saturday, like regardless of what day it is, if you do some physics every single day, then you will win a prize. If you're in the greater St. John's area, I will hand deliver it in April. If you're not in the St. John's area, I will pop it in the mail to you and it will make its way. And I will put my money where my mouth is. I'm trying to learn French and I'm using Duolingo to do it. And I'm currently at a 989-day streak. So every day for the past 989 days, I have spent 15 minutes studying French. And I think I am getting much better. La baleine est calme is my favorite sentence I learned. So that's my challenge to you. Keep your physics streak and you will win a prize. And on top of the actual prize you'll win, you'll probably find you're more successful in the class, that you learn it a little better. Last, and arguably the most important, is your well-being. In the times we're living in, it's a crazy world with some crazy stuff happening. It's so important for you to be a guardian of your physical and your mental health. I would say it's more important than anything else that's happening. So you may find you're struggling with some aspect of your health. If that's the case, there is a lot of help to be had. MUN's Student Wellness Center offers many services for your physical and your mental health. Some is online, some is in person. I've got a lot of those listed in the course syllabus. So if you're struggling, please reach out to me. If I can help, I will. If I can't help, I will find the person who can. So if you're well, then you'll have a far greater chance of succeeding and coming out of this happy, which is, I think, where we all would like to be ultimately.